The way it works is actually that we collect all the changes that are happening on an account, either at the campaign, at group level. It could be like changing keywords, the ad copy, and so on. And all those changes, we collect them every week.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paid Search NYC Podcast. Today, very excited to be chatting to Alexandre Airvault, who is the CEO and co-founder of a paid search automation platform called Blobr.io. Blobr.io, for those who aren't familiar, helps with insight reporting, root cause analysis, lots of really cool paid search automation. But what's really interesting, and I think what's really interesting about the space is some of the things that platform does in the AI space now when it comes to AI agents. And things like that. So we're going to be going deep on how the platform does that and how it uses AI agents. So very excited to get into that. But before we do, Alex, thank you and welcome. Of course, great to have you. So I gave like a very brief intro there as to what Blobr.io does, but maybe for those who aren't familiar, talk a little bit more about what the platform does for advertisers.
Yeah, sure. Actually, what we do at Blobr is what we think a smarter way to manage Google Ads. So what we have built is actually a tool that can identify the root cause of the performance, analyzing the changes, the daily KPIs, the performance of an account, and making the correlation about where the performance is going up or down, where it's coming from. And from there, we provide recommendations that can be easy to implement with a CSV file and directly push to Google Ads or Google Ads Editor. So that's what you do.
Nice. So it's kind of the what and why, and then the action off the back of that is still human led to a certain extent.
Yeah. So the analysis is automated for understanding the performance, and definitely then you can launch AI agents that are doing specific tasks directly from the platform.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Before we get into that, one other question, just I didn't mention in the intro, but you started the company in 2020, and whilst it feels like AI has been around for a while now, I think 2020 was probably a period of time where it wasn't prevalent. I think ChatGPT came out in 2022. So talk us through the sort of life cycle of the platform. I imagine in 2020, automation focused. But how much was AI playing a part, and if it wasn't then, at what point did it come in, and kind of how did you sort of integrate that?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So we started the company 5 years ago, but definitely on a different market. So what we were doing early days of the company, we were doing kind of the Shopify for APIs. So we were helping API providers to package, share, and monetize their APIs. So we went quite deep in this space. And in 2022, when there was kind of democratization of AI thanks to OpenAI, we realized that we have been working a lot on an intermediary layer on top of APIs that could work better with AI. And that's where we made the pivot of the company and decided to go all in and building this infrastructure on top of APIs, and specifically for Google Ads since this time. So that's really like, it was like a wake-up call when we saw the advancements from OpenAI with the technology that we partly built before, and then we went all in to develop the solution specifically for Google Ads. So we have more technical expertise around how data could be consumed by AI. But definitely then we partnered with business experts to create those specific agents for Google Ads.
That's super interesting. I would love to do a whole episode on that pivot, because that does sound like an interesting pivot, how like you start off in like data infrastructure and like almost infrastructure layer, and then you've kind of moved up the value chain as one way of putting it, by putting stuff on top of that. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool. Definitely a subject for another episode. I'd love to dive deeper on that. But for this episode, let's get into the platform. Let's talk about, first of all, the insight and reporting capabilities. And you mentioned there's some sort of like root cause analysis. Let's get into how that works.
Yeah, so The way it works is actually that we collect all the changes that are happening on an account, either at the campaign, at group level. It could be like changing keywords, the ad copy, and so on. And all those changes, we collect them every week, and then we get as well the daily KPIs of the performance, the weekly KPIs from one week to another, and we compare the performance from one week to another. We have built internally metrics of if you make a change of keyword, what could be all the potential impact on your performance, and we provide all this information to the AI so that it can make the correlation between the changes that you made and the performance that you have, taking into account, of course, conversion delay and the materiality of your different campaigns, to have like a story at the end that you can tell to your customer, or if you are an advertiser, understand the story that happened last week or the week before. So that's basically how it works behind the scene. And then the result is actually what I'm sharing. You get an overview of your business KPIs, trying to orientate and we'd say classify them between business, efficiency, and visibility, to have like a clear story to understand the account on the previous week. You get the first level of analysis at the account level, explaining the performance globally and what are the main drivers explaining the performance. So here it explains that you had some budget and limitations, and we'll see later that then we have analysis at the campaign level for each campaign, understanding precisely what is the root cause. So if I take one example, like this one, so he has like a lower performance with a drop in conversions. And it seems that it's related to a temporary reduction in daily budget, reducing impressions availability, with a weak increase, then that where you increase the budget, that came too late to compensate the changes that you made. So it's really trying to understand all the changes that you made with your performance to create the story about what is happening. That's the first pillar of our solution, really trying to understand the performance and create the story of what is happening directly in the account.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think if you could zoom in just a tiny bit, that makes a lot of sense. How does the system work when you've got multiple changes happening in the time period that's being reviewed? Is it like, how does it weight those different things that are taking place? How does it sort of sift through a noisy situation like that?
It's really interesting that we really mapped all the potential changes that could happen, and identify, creating kind of a heat map of what is how important can be a change on the performance. So for instance, if you add negative keywords, it could be that it reduces impressions and clicks. But of course, if you add more keywords at the same time, it could have like a contradictory effect. So it's going to analyze for each change what is the expected impact for those changes, to try to leverage between those different changes what is the main driver for the impact on the performance, trying to leverage both. We created kind of internal heat maps of potential changes, taking into account materiality. So if you had one keyword which had actually a lot of traffic, it might be like a higher impact than if you added a new keyword or 5 new keywords but very low traffic. So trying to take into account this as well, materiality. So really, like, we created a heat map internally to try to map those different effects and provide this to the AI so that it can create the real story behind.
Got it. Yeah, that's super interesting, because my next question as an example was almost going to be exactly what you just described there, where you've got keywords let's say you're doing negative keywords and you added, I don't know, 1,000 negative keywords, and then you added 2 new keywords. Depending on the search volume of those keywords would dictate how impactful those changes would be up on the account. So you need to know not only what does the change do, but how do you then weight the individual change based on additional context, so the keyword volume, etc.
Yeah,
and the system does all that. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's exactly how we thought it from the start.
Yeah, and then I'm curious, the description here you have for this campaign. So where you've got sort of a first description of what's going on from an overall metric KPI perspective, and then kind of what drove that. How many iterations did you go through to get through to this kind of this description? Because I imagine it's pretty difficult to distill into like natural language what happened. Is this like the final output from lots of iterations that you guys have been through to try and get to something as succinct as possible?
Yeah, that's a lot of iterations. So we created internally our own tools to test different prompts, different logics, compare what is the output from different iterations that we have, and which one seems to be the best ones. But we realized that if we provide a lot of context, because behind there is a lot of context that is collected and so on, you cannot just like throw it at AI and then get the story. You need really to structure it and in a lot of different steps, have like a control environment about what needs to be included at each step before to come to this kind of story. So it's a lot of iterations and try and fail. Examples that we had where we needed actually to create additional steps to kind of guide better the AI. So it's not something that you can actually think right from the start. It's by trying that you reach this level of performance.
Yeah, makes total sense. And I'm interested, do you get feedback from clients where they say, can it do this? Can you change this? Like, is that an ongoing process, or has it got to a place where it kind of fits most needs, most requirements?
So a big question that we had that we are releasing in the coming days is actually to have the account plan directly in our interface, where you can say my business objective for this account is to reach this level of conversions in let's say 3 months, and then that the AI is able to understand whether you are on target or not on target, because sometimes you need as well to put into perspective the key figures that you have week over week, and it's something that we are missing. That's the piece that we are adding now. So really to have like the complete story. You are behind your targets, you are performing well, but you are still behind your targets, and it will help as well further down the line to trigger what are the right AI agents to launch, to then make the right recommendations based on your account planning targets. So it's really these parts that we miss. And then we have a kind of some flexibility where we can configure the context of the company, who are the competitors, what strategy has been implemented, what is the context of ad groups, and we plan as well to have as well some part of the discussions that the agency or advertiser can have with their own team, that can be as well collected to the AI as additional context, because some things are happening outside Google Ads. Even if we have more integrations than only Google Ads, it could be that you make a specific change on the website or internal process that could explain sometimes the performance as well.
Yeah, that's very cool. Being able to forecast where you are against goal, and then bring in I guess that additional context around like what's the business trying to achieve, what are your plans, maybe some of the tests you want to run, and then being able to map back how those tests have gone on the performance. That's very interesting. I guess it's it's a blessing and a curse, because you build a platform that gets used for some of the sort of really heavy day-to-day stuff. But then once you create that platform and it's really useful and people use it a lot, there's just so many other ways you can go to add on, to help out in all the other ways people do paid search, paid marketing. I guess it's just making sure you focus on the right features rather than trying to build everything for everyone. But what you described there certainly sounds very, very good.
Yeah, we try to focus for the moment only on Google Ads. There are so much things to do. And we are not yet looking at other platforms like Meta, for instance, where it could be as well relevant, but huge work still to refine and moving it so it can be better for everyday tasks as well. So if you could launch, for instance, many more agents and have more flexibility in using the platform, that's really what we try to do.
I'm very, very keen to get into agents, but maybe just one or two more questions on this section. So at the top, there was almost like a very, very short summary, maybe just one line at the very top. I can't remember what it said. I think it was literally above the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sharp drop in conversion value from low volume inefficiency. What I really like about this whole view is it's different levels of granularity. So at the very top, you have that one line. If you're speaking to maybe someone very senior, client side or in the business, they might just want to know that line. And then as you get more granular in terms of people who are more in the day-to-day, you need that great level of detail. And that's kind of what this view provides. You can go as deep as you want. I guess the next level down would be that section of text below the table, where it probably describes the next level down. Which is this one here, and then you can go down further into the campaign level for the people who are like really hands-on keyboard running stuff to understand. So it's all there, and I really love those different levels of kind of granularity.
Yeah, so we try to, but still there are some customers that are asking for more granularity in but even in the reporting style, right? Each agency has their own reporting style, or the way that they present things, they want to be able to amend it or using their own presentation and so on. So we added like a copy button where it's going to copy actually the full analysis, and where you can either have a custom GPT with instructions about how you want an email to be sent to a customer, how to restructure information, or you could push it as well to any LLM to ask, for instance, to draft a PPT directly for your customers, a PowerPoint directly for your customers with your own style that then you can just add in very quickly. So it's not internal in our tool, and we don't plan to do it, but we still want to have the flexibility for people to change our analysis and amend it as they want to share it with others.
Yeah, I love that. And it's one of those decisions I guess you have to make of like, where do you incorporate that functionality in the tool, or do you just give people the ability to, here's the data, go and do what you want with it? And that probably the latter makes more sense, because there's so many different ways people might want to chop up their information, change it, different models they might want to use. They might want to just reword the text in their own style. They might want to create a presentation, like you say. So I think giving the people the ability just to output that data is very smart. That's great. Okay. Right then, let's talk about agents. So we've mentioned them a few times in this call. Let's take a look at or walk us through what the agent sort of, I guess, UI features, what that looks like in Blobr.
Yeah, sure. So agents are kind of simple cards. How they are displayed in the Blobr, that you can activate for a specific campaign, or a lot of different campaigns that you want to add to a specific agent. So there is like an overview of what the agent is doing first, and when you activate it, you can select to which campaign you want to push it. So it's just like a selector where you select which campaign you want to get analyzed by the AI agents. and then you just activate it. So either activate now or activate, and you have like the agents continuously running on it specifically, so that every week they would run on it. We are working to have much more flexibility that you can decide exactly the timeline of analysis for those AI agents. But then when you activate them, just click of a button, and then you will retrieve your agents directly in the recommendations part. I will show to you later. But what we have is definitely a huge selection of agents on very different aspects. And all those agents are actually specialized to do a task. So really, we try to encapsulate the logic of, for instance, for the ad copy, being able to analyze the existing ad copy, check what are the titles that are performing the best, the ones that are performing the worst, analyzing the ones that are performing the worst. Is it because there is a marketing bias that is not optimized? So maybe it can be that the best titles are speaking about your pricing advantage, and the worst ones are speaking about like how they are secure, and actually it's not the right ones that are performing the best, and maybe you should try to optimize to the first marketing bias. So those kind of stuff that we do in the background. So the AI is going to go beyond what you have in Google Ads. It's going to analyze what your competitors do, what are the ads that they have, the titles that they have, analyze how you could better position, brainstorm, and try to refine all of this to provide as an output the recommendations that are ready to implement and the explanation of why it recommends that specifically. So all those agents have different capabilities, and they go beyond Google Ads. Can be they go as well. We have the connection with Google Search Console, Google Analytics. So it can go really to get more data to make the right decision for the recommendations. For the moment, they are kind of automated. There is not that much flexibility for the user to go deep into the agents to configure more than what we have done. But we are working as well on that to give the full flexibility to define a bit more some prompts in the agents, define some routes of data that you want as well to add to provide more context or making always better recommendations.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. If you mind just zooming in a tiny bit, I'm interested, how would you bucket the agents in terms of the categories of work they do? It sounds like it's ad copy. I saw some landing page stuff in there, keywords, anything outside of those three buckets? Is it like analysis, or you mentioned Search Console? Like what are the main buckets you would use?
So those agents have been mostly done for lead campaign generation. So really more for such type of campaigns, part of shopping, PMAX for negative keywords, for instance, but really trying to more optimize those agents for lead type of customers, a lead generation type of customers, not much shopping, something that we are working as well next, but really focusing on this aspect. And from there, we are going to optimize headlines, the description, so the ad copy, the keywords, either adding keywords, negative keywords, but as well, which is quite important in terms of performance at scale, is all the extensions that you can have that are going to be optimized every week. So trying to find the best extensions as well. So that's mainly the area that we have been working on so far, and now we're adding more agents and more capabilities.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the results from one of the agents. Which one's this? This is the negative keywords finder.
Yeah, this one is negative keywords finder, and of course, so there are a lot of recommendations on this example for many campaigns, and it understands different languages, of course, and then it's going to show first the negative keywords it's proposing. What is the cost that we incurred? to which ad group it should be added. And as it understands the context of the company, the context of the ad group, it then provides a reference of why it should be added as negative keyword, depending on what are my objectives and the context of the company. So it can say, for instance, this is in Portuguese, those negative keywords. This is an informational research about updating the WhatsApp business app. No indicative of commercial or B2B intent. This is like a marketing automation platform. It's suggesting to actually add it as a negative keyword.
Yeah.
So even if they have a WhatsApp product, in this specific context, this keyword should be added as negative. And you could have like more explanation of why, for instance, here leans heavily towards chatbot solutions, which are assigned to a separate dedicated ad group, should be excluded to prevent overlap. So depending on the options, some might say you should not do exclusions between that's all the battle. But if you want to do that, the AI is as well understanding at a granular level where a negative keyword should be added or not.
Yep. I feel like negative keywords is a really tough area to tackle because not only do you have just the language context, but you also have the human sort of opinion on whether a negative should be or shouldn't be added. Like, what does it add or take away from the algorithm from like a learning perspective? So that's pretty tough. But I mean, this seems pretty comprehensive in terms of it's interpreting based on what it knows about the account and the term and the context of the business. I guess, are you able to add like additional context to the agent as like, here's a bit more about my business and maybe some additional context is useful, or is that coming in like the next iteration of the agent version where you can kind of tweak it slightly?
So yeah, we want to, that's exactly the next iteration. But what you can do already on the platform is provide in the settings the context about the company.
So nice.
So this part already you can provide context on the company, and you can have as well, AI is actually building context automatically for each ad group that then you can review and amend as you want. So as much as you provide context, the better it becomes for each ad group. Of course, if you have hundreds and hundreds of ad groups, that's why we have like automated way to do it, but you can still precisely change the context.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense that you want that at the account level because there's so many different places where that context is useful. It's almost like you need that kind of like client brain, client context brain at the very top that feeds everything. So I'd say that's very cool. And how do you decide which agents to build? Is it like feedback from clients? Is it you have people internally to decide what does that process look like?
That's a mix between requests from customers and as well we have one expert that was working at Google for the last 15 years. He got some present on, for instance, on the negative keywords, how to find negative keywords. And this person, Mehdi Boisard, is a French guy as well, joined the company and helping us define what are the next ones that we should work on with our customers and help us guide on the business side because he has as well this knowledge. And we want to onboard more experts that help to define those agents and help our customers have the flexibility to create as well their own agents in the future.
Interesting. Talk a little bit more about that last thing. How would customers create their own agents?
So we have today our agents, I would say templates, and we want in the future that our customers be able to customize the templates using the building blocks that we have, but adding a bit of their own flavor of agents, how they should propose recommendations at each individual level of those agents, and then have the possibility to coordinate which agent is going to be launched in which conditions. So I was taking the example before of the negative keywords. If you see that you have added negative keywords, the performance is going down and seems to be the driver. We have an agent that is a negative keyword optimizer. So it's going to look at all the negative keywords, the ones that could be blocking relevant traffic, and you might want to launch it. So we have some guidance that we have developed depending on the performance, which agent should be launched. And we want to open as well this part where each one of PPC experts, SEA expert has their own flavor of what to do in terms of a drop of performance. So to give this as well flexibility for the experts.
That sounds very cool. And as you were describing that, my mind almost goes to the AI website builders, no code, low code, Lovable, Base 44, where you're giving people the ability to create automations and systems without having any coding knowledge. And in your case, you've got the building blocks, and it's kind of maybe a bit more structured in terms of the things they could do. But I guess in the extreme, you could almost take it to a place where you do have just an AI prompt where it's like, just tell me the agent you want me to build. Someone types that in who is not a programmer, and then your system's able to create that agent. I imagine it's very hard to do. It sounds simple, but it doesn't sound like that's too far different to what you've described there, and the kind of flexibility that people get within the system.
Yeah, definitely. What is always difficult is to provide it's kind of feasible to automate or give the possibility to do 80% of the work. What is hard is like the 20 last percent, which are really hard in terms of full flexibility. We try to work in that direction, but our plan is definitely first to offer this 80% flexibility in how you launch agents, what you can customize in those agents. And that's the next thing for us as well in terms of flexibility, in terms of timing of analysis. So I was sharing before the analysis on a week, but you might have like a customer call in 2 hours, and you want to understand why the performance of the last 3 days is going down, and you just want this information, right? So as well, which type of information you want at which moment, we want to provide this flexibility.
Yep. Okay, that's very cool. How, I don't know if you can answer this, but how successful are these agents? Like, do you see like pretty high uptick across the board, or is it, I guess it's probably more you see specific agents get used more than others, and that helps you then understand like what's useful and what's not. Is that helping to guide where to go from like the types of agents to build, or is it, I guess you just say it's kind of mixed in terms of the feedback you're getting?
So it's not much how the agents are behaving, guiding the next ones. It's much more what the customers want and the experts getting us of what next thing to solve. Still, definitely in our AI agents, for instance, for the ad copy or for negative keywords, there is still the judgmental where you could argue both sides on is it a negative keyword or not.
Yeah.
That's why we try to compensate this aspect, so trying to automate the process, either having like the ad copy that can be reviewed, the performance and change it. So it might not be like perfect the first time, but then it keeps on improving and improving. Or the same thing with negative keywords. A negative keyword that was kind of, is it a negative keyword or not? Actually, there is the negative keyword optimizer. Then next week we'll analyze it and then might be putting it back or change the match type of the keyword. So this kind of stuff it's not always perfect first with AI, but what is good is that you can have like countermeasures that can smooth the impact on your performance and be sure that you go in the right direction. And that's mostly where we spent a lot of our energy to be sure that the changes that you are making they are never like a bad choice, because there's always countermeasures if in time there is a bad choice that is made.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess my last question here is on the comparison between AI agents and scripts. So scripts within Google Ads have been around for a long time, probably I don't know, a decade or more. How do agents differ, and how are they better than scripts?
Script, they are deterministic. So they do exactly what you want them to do. But there is still what I was mentioning, where there is like kind of a flavor of what you like, what you want to implement. The human thing, where agents can do part of it, not yet all of it. And that's where I see the big difference with scripts. You can say with a script, if the cost of a search term is, let's say, 2 times the cost of my CPA, put it as a negative keyword. This is like a deterministic rule, but it might be that early you can define that a specific search term is a negative keyword based on the context of the keyword, the ad group it is in, to really define, actually early, this is a negative keyword. So it's helping to have like better performance earlier, I believe, with the AI agents, and as well to give this flavor of what needs to be implemented in the long term, because what we have built on top of those AI agents is as well what we call master agents internally, to decide which one needs to be launched in which context. So trying to correlate, to link together the analysis, the AI analysis we saw earlier, what is the root cause of the performance, and what to do next. And this what to do next, sometimes it's not like a formula. It's more depending on the context, and you cannot write it in a script.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. The last question I have for you is a fairly broad one, but I feel like you're very well placed to answer it. With all this automation and advances in AI, how do you think a paid search practitioner, someone running a paid search account, how do you think their role changes in, I don't know, let's go a year or two's time, or maybe even today versus what it was 5 years, whichever easiest to answer. But how does the role change because of all these innovations?
That's my view, of course. I might be biased on this, but what we see and how we see the future working with PPC teams, consultants, is spending less time on time-consuming aspects on account management, finding why the performance is going up or down, have a good explanation about that. I need to make a lot of changes on the accounts, and I want to be confident that I'm making the right choices when I know what I'm doing. Definitely now with AI, it's going much faster. So what we see is more like the role of a consultant evolving towards strategy and understanding further the business of their customers, how they can help the business, spend more time about that, and even time, I think, to be more creative. Sounds a bit counterintuitive with AI now doing a lot of things, but it gives like more freedom. It frees up time to be more creative, try new type of campaigns, A/B test as well that you can run. So I think it's less time on the account management like we had traditionally, but it frees up time to do many more things and be closer to the customers and the strategy.
Yeah, makes sense. I think out of the 3 things you said there, so less time on manual tasks and more time on strategy and being more creative and the confidence, that's 4 things. I think a couple of those we've said for a while now, like in terms of the impact of automation, but I think there's 2 things there that I don't hear a lot that you said, and one was the creativity part. I haven't heard a lot of that over the years, and it does feel like as we're getting a better sense of what these systems do, we are in a better place to figure out where we slot in. And I agree. I think the creativity part is a really big part. That's something we should be pretty excited about. The other thing you said, which I don't think I've ever heard anybody say really or talk about, is the confidence. Like the confidence you get from these systems in the certain decisions you're now making, you just have a higher degree of confidence. And I think that is super important and really useful. And definitely a huge benefit to these systems, especially like the insights and reporting. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to sift through all the changes that are happening. And it might be, if we have 5 people look at the same account, that they come up with, 3 different reasons for what's going on because it's messy, there's so many things going on. Whereas if you can put that into a system, automate it and like properly quantify it with a very logical way, then there's just more confidence in that's the true cause. So I think that's great. I really love that. Alex, this was great, really fun. I learned a lot. Such a cool tool. I know people can find more on blobr.io, spelled BLOBR.io. We can also follow you on LinkedIn. Any other resources you throw out there?
Definitely, no. We have like a free version on our website, so people can try it. And we are pushing to provide more features for free. And we have a lot of things that are coming up in terms of improvements of the platform in the coming weeks. So excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the free stuff sounds great. And I'm sure if people follow you on LinkedIn, they'll be able to keep ahead of those updates. Or if they just, sign up for the platform for free, they'll be able to keep on top. It looks like you guys are doing a lot, especially in the AI agent space. So definitely recommend people check that out and keep an eye on it. This is great. Thanks, Alex. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Matt.